Today, excuse me, sorry. Today we'll be working in my workbook called The Journey to Mount Sinai, which is in Exodus 13 through 19. Looking at the table of contents, we have already done chapter 1 and chapter 2. We are now going to be going on to chapter 3. Chapter 1 is talking about the Passover and the firstborn and the events that are happening at the very start of their travel to Mount Sinai. This actually combines with the prior chapter that we did in the prior book, where this is also the first of their calendar dates and of their calendar, excuse me. And even though they have already moved from Ramses to Succoth, this is also they're still in Egypt. So they're talking about the consecration of the firstborn and starting the Passover feast, which they'll do for generations up to today, even. And now in chapter 2, instead of traveling straight east to where their destination is, they're going to travel south to Mount Sinai, which is, the longest distance to go to get to their destination. But God has a lot of work to do with these people. So they then camp on on the shores of the Red Sea. And map wise and picture wise, understanding is that they're literally going to be trapped right there on the shores of the Red Sea, which God intended because he wanted to get Pharaoh thinking he can get all the Israelites back and thereby taking care, removing all of Pharaoh's army as well. Because Egypt now has been devastated. It has lost all its fish in the sea. It's lost all its domestic animals. It's lost all its trees and shrubs and plants that for food. But they still had their army. And so God wanted to take their army away as well. So he makes this situation on purpose so that he can also kill off Pharaoh's army. So we are now in chapter 3, where the Egyptians catch up to the Israelites. The Egyptians catch up to the Israelites. Exodus 14:9 through 14:20. Exodus 14:9. So the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, his horsemen and his army, and overtook them, the Israelites, camping by the sea besides Pi Haharoth before Baal Zephon. Now, if they didn't really overtake them, if you're looking at the map here, there's a really good visual. You see that there's a run route to take to this large beach area in the near the Red Sea, which is not the Red Sea now, but so the Israelites are on this plain here, this whole huge area, and the Egyptians are coming at them from the only route that they can leave this from. So that's how it looks. And above is the current picture of the area the Israelites were camped at. The Israelites, as well as the Egyptian army, came down through the pass. The Israelites really have no place to go. So they haven't overtook them, despite what the words say here. They have come closer to them. And in a sense, they're trapped. The Israelites are trapped. What else came with the horses, horsemen, and chariots of the Pharaoh? His army? I guess it's army. Today we'd read the word overtook as meaning that the Egyptians already got to and surrounded the Israelites. But as we will read, this meaning is incorrect. The NIV version uses the word caught up with, which is more accurate. I better take care of my voice or you won't like listening to me or read this. I have problems with my voice lately. Don't know why, but that's just the way it is. How many able bodied Israelite men are there in this group of Israelites again? Remember, there were 600,000, right? Note the amount of men counted would have been just the able-bodied military-aged men. Many Bible scholars estimate the total amount of Israelites and Egyptians who may have joined them that left Egypt to be about 2.4 million. What else came with the Israelites? Their cattle, their sheep, all those different things. Hmm. The Egyptians are ready for war. Excuse me. With swords and bows. They also have a means of retreat. The Israelites, although armed, have their families and their livestock with them, and they have no place to run to. Which army has a military advantage? The Egyptians do by far. The scriptures continue. Exodus 14:10. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they were very afraid, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. Did the Israelites see the Egyptian army coming down the pass? Absolutely. What emotion did the Israelites feel when they saw the Egyptian army? Fear. Who did the Israelites cry out to? The Lord. Is it the right thing to pray to God when it seems all hope is lost? Definitely. Will God hear you? Oh, yes. What is leading them by day and by night? A pillar of fire by night and a pillar of cloud by day. So they literally know God is with them. Since God is with the Israelites, who now has the greater army, the Egyptians or the Israelites backed by God? The Israelites do. If you were there in the Israelite camp, how scared would you be of the coming Egyptian army? Well, very scared, because reality is different than what God is saying. So it's really hard. And this is basically one of those trials that God is using to increase their faith in Him. The scriptures continue. Exodus 14:11. Then they said to Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness? Why have you so dealt with us to bring us out of Egypt? Is this not the word that we told you in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than we should die in the wilderness. And this is very understandable. They have not seen God work before. They just have talked about their God. They have not seen him work before. So they are learning to increase their faith, but they're afraid. I don't know that any of us in the same situation would feel the same way. From the prior page, what did the Israelites first do when they saw the Egyptians coming after them? They cried out to the Lord. Then they also bring their fear to Moses. Despite all that they had seen God do for them in the recent months, their faith was not strong enough to accept that he had a plan. But would we, under the same circumstances, be any different? They have been slaves for 400 years to the Egyptians. So despite their desire to get out of bondage, they had no idea how to live outside of the system, which is the main reason why God is sending them through by way of Mount Sinai to get them back to how they should live instead of under the rule of another government. What is the first question the people give to Moses? Because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness? Since the Egyptians specialized in the dead and there were plenty of room for graves still in Egypt, this may have been a rhetorical question. The people that were complaining that it'd be better to serve the Egyptians than what? Die in the wilderness. How quickly they forget how hard it was. The scriptures continue. Exodus 14:13. And Moses said to the people, do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see again no more forever. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. There are three actions that Moses wants the people to do. They are, do not be afraid, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord. What does verse 13 say the Lord is going to accomplish for the children of Israel this day? Salvation of the Lord. He's going to save them this day. We think of the word salvation as a Christian word, meaning being saved from sin. But another definition of the word is deliverance from harm, which is how it's used in this case. What is going to happen to the Egyptians that they see? They will never see them again. What is the Lord going to do according to verse 14? The Lord will fight for them. What does Moses when he says, you shall hold your peace? Be quiet and watch, basically, is what he's saying. Be quiet and watch. Exodus 14:15. And the Lord said to Moses, why do you cry out to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward, but lift up your rod and stretch your hand over the sea and divide it. And the children shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. God tells Moses to have the children of Israel do what? Go forward. What was Moses to do to make a path for the Israelites? Lift up his rod and stretch it over the sea. Usually after ground has been underwater, it would be mud first if the waters recede. But what will this ground be that will be under the Red Sea? Dry ground. So not only is he lifting the waters up, he's removing the water from the ground itself. How many Israelites are there again? 600,000 men, or 2.4 million estimated. What else did they bring with them other than their families? Their livestock and their goods and everything they had. Can the Israelites see the Egyptian army? Yes, they can. So how is God going to get all the Israelites through the Red Sea before the Egyptians on fast horses could catch up? Well, by human means, there's no way. By God means, everything is possible through God. Exodus 14:17 and 18. And I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they shall go after them, the Israelites. And I will get glory over Pharaoh and all his host, his chariots and his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I've gotten glory over Pharaoh, his chariots and his horsemen. Exodus 4:19. Then the angel of God, who had been leading the people of Israel, moved to the rear of the camp. The pillar of cloud also moved from the front and stood behind them. The cloud settled between the Egyptian and Israelite camps. As darkness fell, the cloud turned to fire, lighting up the night. But the Egyptians and Israelites did not approach each other all night. Two things are leading the people of Israel: a pillar of cloud and the angel of God. So a pillar of cloud, pillar of fire, and the angel of God. Where did the pillar of cloud move to? To behind the Israelites. Is that pillar of cloud, is it day or night? It's day, but you can see by the events here, it's near sunset because it's going to change as it comes around to the back. What did the pillar of cloud turn into while still in this position? The pillar of fire. Did the Egyptians approach Israelites during the night? No, they couldn't. There's this pillar of fire. The Egyptians may have been able to get through the pillar of cloud, but not the pillar of fire. So even though the Egyptians are near the Israelites, they cannot reach them, and the 2.4 million Israelites have the time to prepare for travel. Notice it says the Egyptians and Israelites could not approach each other. Why would the Israelites want to approach the Egyptians? Because on the surface, the Egyptians had the better army. If you lacked faith in God and you felt like God was not going to do his thing, then you would want to get back to the Egyptian army and surrender. But that doesn't allow the Israelites to do that. So now we come to the end of the chapter. Question 2. When night fell, the pillar of cloud turned into the pillar of fire. When the Red Sea parts, the Israelites will walk through it on dry ground. Both the Egyptians and the Israelites could not approach each other, I believe it is. Let's see. Approach, yes, each other during the night. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Number 7. Number 9, it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. Number 10, God is going to harden the heart of the Egyptians. 1 down, Moses was told by God to lift up your rod. 3, they pursued the Israelites, the Egyptians. 4, the angel of God has been leading the Israelite people. 8, the children of Israel, the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. So that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed it.